we've been looking at data manipulation statements. We've seen about insert, update, upsert, and select. Yeah. Then next is about delete. So I have a table called demo update 2. So delete is, we use delete statement to delete the records from the table when you want to delete the data from the table. If I just say, see, if I just say delete from table name, yeah, this will delete all the records from the table. So I have all the data lost, okay. Then we can also have the delete statement with the where clause when you want to delete only certain records of the table. So if I have, I just want to delete only the record where my key is 1, then I can say delete this from the table demo update where key is equal to 1. So only 1 is being removed here. In this case, it just deletes only 1 record. Okay, that is your delete statement. And then we have also have something called truncate. So for the properties, I'm basically switching off the auto commit. So auto commit is switched off. Okay, now let's see. So now I have a table called demo insert now. So next statement is about truncate. Truncate is also used to delete the data from the table. Similar to your delete, truncate is also used to delete the data from the table. So when you say delete, it only deletes the data. But when you say truncate, it deletes data and also removes the memory which is allocated for the table. When you say delete, it actually deletes the data alone. When you say truncate, it clears the data and also the memory which is allocated for the table also is cleaned out. Okay. And one more difference is when you use truncate, you cannot use truncate with where clause. Truncate can only delete all the data. Whereas in the delete statement, we are able to use the where clause and do a selective deletion. Selectively delete only particular rows. But by using truncate, we cannot do selectively. It only deletes all the data. That is the only option. So I have data in this table. So I have data in this table. I'm just saying truncate table, so and so. Delete will be delete from table name. When I say truncate table name. When I do this, all this gone. You cannot have the truncate with where clause. It can only be used to delete all data and it will free the space also. But whereas delete can be executed, it only deletes data, but no memory is still allocated to the table. And it can be executed on the where clause also. And there's one more difference is when you use a delete option, we have a flexibility of rolling back. In case of truncate, I cannot roll back. In case of delete, you can basically do a rollback. Rollback means what? You can get those records back. But in case of truncate, you cannot get the records back. That is another difference. Now look at this. What I'm doing, I'm just setting the schema as 9-cubex SQL. I'm just creating some table. So remember, I've switched off the auto commit. So if I need to save, I need to explicitly use the commit statement. So I'm just creating a table called T. And there's no records. Now I'm inserting these 3 records into the table. Insert into, I'm not using schema name because I've already set the schema at the top. So insert into table values 1, 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3. Okay, boss? And then I'm explicitly executing the commit. No, this does the save. I have the 3 records into this table. Now what I'm doing, I'm just saying delete from table, delete from T where my key is equal to 1. What does this do now? This will delete the record where my key is 1. If I say select star from T, do you get to see 1? No, right? But if I say, now what I'll do, I'll say, if I say roll back, and if I see the records, I get to see that. Okay? After deleting, when you execute the statement, select, you don't get to see that record. It is marked for deletion. But if I say roll back, again you get those records back. Because why? After delete, I have not performed a commit. If you do commit again, then the data is gone. Before commit, you can roll backwards. So again, I'm just deleting this table. Again, recreate this table. I'm inserting these 3 records and I execute a commit. And let's say I say truncate table T. What does it do? I cannot go selectively on this. I have to delete all the records. Truncate table T, but if I say select star from T, you get no records. Even if I say roll back, you will not get any records. Truncate, once you delete the data with truncate, you cannot roll back. But if it is delete, you will be able to roll back if it is not, you have not performed a commit. But if it is performed commit, again you will delete, we cannot roll back in the delete also. Okay?
What's the purpose of commit?
Commit is saving. Any database, it's a commit. We'll have 2 these are called as transactional statements. So select, insert, all these are manipulation. We'll have 2 transactional statements, mainly one is rollback and commit. Commit is performing the save, rollback is reverting the changes. Those are called as transactional statements.
Sir, when we use truncate table name, so the memory means the structure completely removed from the database?
No. Structure is still there. The memory allocated for the table is freed up.
Oh.
Structure of the table will be still there.
What about drop? Okay. What about drop table? Different.
See, drop will delete the complete table. So when the table is gone, obviously the structure is gone, the data is also gone. Okay, delete will only delete the records, and where you can delete selectively. And truncate will also delete data, but you cannot execute selectively. And in delete you can roll back if the commit is not done, and truncate you cannot roll back. Yeah.
Can we perform the rollback on drop table?
No.
After doing the drop.
No chance of doing rollback for drop. Only thing is you have to restore the backup. Say before dropping the table, if you have taken any backup of the database, you have to restore. That is the only option.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Next. Load and unload.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello. So once you delete the record from the table, we are again called rollback, right? At the time where that record comes from, sir. I mean, in which,
whatever it is, when you do a delete, it does not remove the record at all completely. It will only mark that record for deletion until you do a commit.
Okay.
say you say delete this record, okay? Internally, this will mark, it will mark that record for deletion with some indicator. And when you say commit, then it cleans that record. So before executing commit, you can say rollback. It only marks that record for delete. The actual flushing of data is done only when you do commit after deletion. But before doing commit, if you say rollback, it will again remove that mark for deletion again.
Okay.
Yeah. Load. And now next one is load bus. This is more specific to HANA. Okay. Okay, boss. So what is the purpose? See, I already discussed on the saying, very, very important point to understand. See, HANA is an in-memory database, right? So HANA will have data stored in two places. One is one in the main memory and one is on the disk. Memory ante RAM annattu. Okay. Disk ante hard disk. This is morata. Okay. So this is, we refer it as main memory. Okay. We refer this as disk. Okay. Fine. And when you basically restart, when you start your server, see, initially what happens, all the data will be in disks. You have installed, let's say we have installed your HANA server. It actually creates all the repository in the disk first actually. After installation, let's say you're basically starting your HANA server. When you start your HANA server, all the row store tables, majorly all your system tables, nothing but the repository tables will be row based because they is only for inserting, right? We are not doing reporting. That's why majorly they are row store tables. But even if it is row store, can I still convert them back to column also? Yes. So when you start your server, first you'll have a server called daemon, which actually starts up. And daemon server will take care of starting all other servers like index server, access engine server, data processing server, all other servers, name server, pre-process server, all the daemon will start trigger all those. Now when the index server starts up, index server is the one which actually manages your database. When index server starts, all your row store tables, which are your system tables, will be by default loaded into main memory. System tables, which will be what? By default, they get loaded into main memory. So the question is, will it load only system tables which are row store or even column store tables also? It load all the system tables which are row store, okay? And if there are any column store tables for which preload flag is enabled, you remember I told you about enabling, if there's any column store tables for which preload flag is enabled, even those tables are also loaded in when as soon as the server is started. Column store with even these will be by default loaded into the main memory. Okay. So will there be lot of other column store tables for, let's say there are lots of other column store tables for which the preload flag was not enabled. So where will you have those tables? See, you'll have this here also, and there are also without preload flag. So these tables will not be loaded into main memory at all. Okay. Now let's say, so what will happen to these tables? Are these stored only into disk and consumed only from the disk? No, look at this. Let's say you run your query bus. Let's say you're running some BO report or something on top of this. Which one? On top of some table which is in disk bus. So it goes to main memory and searches whether do we have the table in main memory. If it doesn't find, because we just restart the server now, right? It doesn't find it. So it goes to the disk, okay, and finds out the table what it needs and loads that respective table into this column store used in reporting, loads into main memory, then takes it to the report. So now when it load, will it load all the table? No. It will only load the columns. See, loading the entire table we call that as full load. Loading only certain columns of the table we call that as partial load. So let's say my table has got 100 columns. When you run your report, let's say in the report you're just consuming only 2 columns of the table. So does it load all the 100 columns or only the 2 columns into the main? Only those 2 columns are loaded into the main memory and been consumed. So this is a partial load for this table or full load? Partial. So but partial load cannot come row wise. You cannot say, say there are 100 records, load 50 records of table at row. Partial load can only be segregated with column wise, not on the row wise. మొత్తం ఎత్తుకోవాల్సిందే ఆ కాలం ఎత్తుకుంటాం ఎత్తుకోమంతే because it's a column store, right? It can segregate vertical, not horizontal. Column wise segregation can be done. Yeah, clear on this bus? Okay, this is a situation. Now what you understood is you didn't want, so there are some tables for which preload flag was not enabled at all, but you felt I didn't want my query to read from the disk even for the first time also. During first fetch, if it doesn't find in the main memory, it fetches it from what? From the disk and then takes it to main memory, then access it. And then let's say at some point of time when it keeps filling these tables into the main memory gets filled up at some point of time should happen, right? So then what happens, it does use the logic. You remember for the tables you set unload priority. Based on that unload priority, it keeps unloading those tables out. That's right. It will have an algorithm which takes care about unloading those tables or with the highest unload priority and keep freeing up the space. Okay, boss? Now, if this is a situation, the question is, let's say, I don't want to wait for my query to read and load it to main memory. I would like to explicitly load that into main memory. I know the requirement would be, this kind of requirement would be rare, but the requirement is, I have some table which is in the disk. Instead of my engine loading the table into main memory during the report requirement or running of the report, I want to explicitly load the table into main memory. Then I use the statement load, which could be partial loading or full load. Generally in the real time case, I may not be using explicit load. Logical, right? Because system is taking care of it. So I will, which of the tables I feel is important, I will enable preload for flag and leave it. So see, let system will load that in main memory, right? Clear this? But if you but there is also an option to explicitly load into main memory also. So that is your load statement. Okay, so I'm just creating some table with some order ID. And I'm just inserting them. This is my table. I've got 2 records. And if I see the definition of the table, if you go to runtime information, you will see what is size on the disk is 520 KB. And look at this. Does it still occupy some memory here? Main store memory is 2 KB and delta store memory is what? 309 KB. So is it storing in the disk as well as main memory first? Okay. Now, what I would like to say is, now, I would like to unload this table. It is in memory now. I can find out whether it is in memory or not. You can see this. You will have a table called m_cs_tables. It's not a table, it's a ready-made view. Or you can use a table called tables, which will give you information about every table. And in this, you'll have a column called loaded, which tells you yes, partial, full, or what it is here. Let's select this and say execute. What did it say? There is some partially been loaded bus. Now I would like to unload it. I can write a SQL statement to unload, or for now I'm just writing it normal. Right click on this table. I can say this. What is unload from memory bus? If that is done, if I just get to this, it just says size on disk is 524, but what it says size in the memory how much? Means what? This table is not in main memory. And if I execute this select statement, it says what? Loaded? No. Means it is not in main memory bus. Okay. Now explicitly I would like load. Now I would like load it back. I can do with UI. Right click and say what? What is this here? Load into memory bus. If I do this, again it says memory has been occupied. Still merging is not done. Okay. Again, if you see, this, full, because when I do with UI, I don't have an option of selecting particular column. But if you want to load only particular columns, I have to go with SQL only. Okay, boss. So I can also do that. I would like to load that with. Again, I have unloaded it. Again, it says loaded what? No. Now, like load is load table. Delta means if there is something new which has come in, load it. Like, okay, I'm not worried about delta because first delta will be like what? All data, right? And let's see what it is. Column store main delta. Column store will have main store, delta store. Okay. That is saying partially, but again I would say unload. Again it says, I just want to say all, okay? No. Now I'm saying what? Load this table, all means what? All the columns. Now it says, what is the loaded status bus? What? Full. Again, I would like to unload this. After unloading, what I want is, in this table, I would like to load, but not all the columns, only 2 columns bus. Say load this table with the columns order ID and let's say. I know there are 4 columns in this table actually, but I'm not loading only 2 columns. Okay. Now if I say, now try to see the status, it says what? Parcel load. Okay. So this is about like loading.
So what will happen with load delta?
Load delta means suppose you already loaded this table and there are new records, you just want to refresh the loading of into main memory, then I can say delta, which will be only partial, only new set of data coming into that. Okay.
Okay.
And then similar way, you will have an option called unload bus. I can also do an unload from the table with SQL statement. Apart from UI, I can also do with but when it comes to loading, you have an option of full or all. All means what? Full. Certain columns means what? Only those columns, partial or full. But when it comes to unload, I cannot say only unload this column or it is complete unload only. So the statement will be straightforward. Unload the table name.
So we are doing the delta merge, sir. I mean, the concept wise, we are moving the data from main memory to
no.
hard disk.
See,
it's that will becoming different.
That is different. This is we are moving from disk to main RAM. Okay. The delta merge is different again. Delta merge. This column store will have 2 storages internally. And but loading concept will be part of delta merge because when you do delta merge on a table, it loads the table into main memory, then performs that concept. Because if you see, only in main memory only you see this main and delta, right? So it has to load the table into main memory, then move all the records from delta store to what? Main store. Okay, merging should be done. And then after merging, it will write back the data back to disk again. Okay, boss? So when it comes to unload, it's like you cannot say unload partially or fully. It's like unloading complete table. That's it. Unload ki rollback ki sambandham ledhu. Unload changes now. You're only dropping the data from main memory, not from the disk. So there's no point in rollback. So if it's unload, you're removing data from main memory. If you want to get back again, what will you do? Again load. The rollback. There's no question of unload, and then now it tells me that the table has been unloaded. Say loaded as what? No. Okay. But you can do explicit load or unload with the UI like this. But with the UI, so unload is fine, because unload anyhow you don't specify any columns. But with the load, if you want to do partially loading of specifying columns, it has to be with SQL. Load table and you specify the columns list. Okay. Now we'll go on delta merge. Okay. So you understand this concept now. We have two types of tables in HANA. One would be row store and one is column store. Whether it is row store or column store, how you deal with the table is pretty same. And how you see is all like rows and columns. There will be no difference. But depending on the type of table, how it manages or how it manipulates in the backend is different. Okay, because for managing column store, you'll have a column store engine. For managing row store tables, you'll have a row store engine, which will actually manage those tables. But for you, whether it is row store or column store, for you as a front-end user, it's all a table. You see in the same way, like rows, data, rows, columns. For you, it's always same. But internally, how it is managing those tables is different based on the type of tables. If it is row store, how it stores the information, how it is managing is different. If it is column store, how it is storing, how it is managing, how it is compressing is different. But ultimately for you, in both cases, you see it as like a matrix, like rows and columns. When it comes to UI, it actually shows both of them as normal rows and columns matrix only. It's only the internal mechanism is differing how it is managing the data and how it is storing or how it is compressing those records based on the type of table. So that's where in HANA you have two major engines. One is column store engine, which takes care about managing column store tables. You'll have row store engine, which takes care about managing row store tables. The internal mechanism of storing the data or compressing the data or the architecture is different. But for you as a user, it is all one and the same. You'll just find rows and columns. That's it. But what you are trying to do is, as a technical developer, we are trying to understand the internal behavior of the table so that we can know how is it being manipulated internally. On the outside world, for you, it's all one table. That's it. Rows and columns matrix. As a developer, we are trying to understand the internal mechanism, how these tables are handled by row store engine or column store engine. You don't do anything here. We are trying to understand that algorithm of those engines, how they are manipulating or how they are storing those particular information or particular data. That's the point. Okay, boss? So with respect to that, if it is row store table, each record, each row values are stored in continuous memory locations, right? In case of column store, all the values of one column are stored in continuous memory locations. That is column store, right? And since all the column values are stored in one continuous memory location, even if you have duplicates, that will be compressed out. Yeah. And how does it link from one column to another column? With positioning indexing, it can link up. So since it is doing the amount of memory required to store column store would be really less. So even though the table is redundant, it can still reduce the space internally in the backend, but row store doesn't do that. But ultimately, whether you store in row store or column store, the output what you see in a table format is still same. Doesn't make any difference for you. Performance wise, column store would be better because it is more compressed. It takes less space to store, and reading wise, it is very faster when you're reading analytics only for certain columns of your table. That's what we're referring to. Okay. So you're not. So once you decide that column store is good for reading, but it actually fails out in the performance when it comes to writing this. Because when you got to insert one record, you have to jump across multiple memory locations to insert. So to overcome with this problem, what the algorithm internally or SAP has done in the backend is, when they create a column store table, they're creating two memory locations or two storages. One is called as main and one is called as delta bus. Main is more of a column store mechanism which is optimized for reading. Delta is more of a row store. Delta will store data more of a row wise, which is more for optimized for writing. So that when end user is trying to insert a new record into this column store table, you're inserting into which one? Delta. So delta is more optimized for writing. So user will not feel that pain or the performance issue. He sees as if the record is inserted quickly. Then once user is out asynchronously, when there is a free time or during the less load hours in the database, we can say perform delta merge, which will basically take the record from delta to main. But when you're reading data from column store table, does it read from main or delta or both of us? Always will be reading both. Even before doing merging, the data is still available for reporting. Okay, boss. At doing asynchronously, you will start moving the records from delta to main when there is no load on the system. That is called merging. Any doubts here? Till this point, any doubt? Tell me. Power both. Our power both disk lo unnachi malli techukovalsindi. See, every time. Don't confuse with load unload, data persistency with delta merging. Forget about power. See, what is happening here? Power both the data in the main memory is lost. You'll have main store in memory, delta store in main memory, disk also you'll have main, and disk also you'll have delta. Okay. When you lose power, what happens? The data in main memory is lost. Again, when you load, when you do merging, see, every time you do merging, it has to load. It will bring the main store data into main memory, delta store memory data into main memory, then merging is done. Again, it writes back data to disk. Clear? See, you're creating column store. You understand like two tables. Instead of assuming main and delta two storages, storage at primary adhikadadi. See what I'm saying? See, when you say column store will have two storages, you understand like two tables. That is better. Main one table and delta is other table. You will have main table, delta table in the disk. If the table is loaded to main memory, you'll have main table, delta table in disk also, in main memory also. That's the concept. But main storage ante main memory, delta ante disk kadanna atladdu. Adi vere katha. Daniki andu meer link aitadi. No. When you create a column store table, it creates two tables in the backend. One is main table, delta table. And these tables will be in disk. And if the table is loaded into main memory, it will have two tables in main memory also. Main memory also will have main table, delta table. Disk also will have main table and delta table. And when you're writing record, assume the delta table is like a row store and main is actually original column store. And now you're writing records. Now you write records into which table? Delta table. Because since it is row store, we can insert data fastly. Then when I do delta merging, it will read all the records from the delta table and loads into what? Main table. First what it will do, it will load main table, delta table both into main memory if you do merging. If it is not loaded, then when you do merging, it takes all the records from delta table and puts it to what? Main, and then writes back these changes back to the disk. So in the disk, all the data will be into which table now? Main table. So table will be blank. Now did I make it clear? Then when I'm using the terminology of main store, మీరు మెయిన్ స్టోర్ని మెయిన్ మెమరీకి కనెక్ట్ చేసుకుంటాం లేదు, మెయిన్ మెమరీ వేరే, ఈ మెయిన్ స్టోరేజ్ వేరే. ఓకేనా? నౌ ఇట్స్ క్లియర్. సో డిడ్ యు అండర్స్టాండ్ ది ఇంపార్టెన్స్ ఆఫ్ డెల్టా మర్జింగ్? వై ఐ హావ్ టు డూ డెల్టా మర్జింగ్, రైట్? సో వెన్ ఇట్ కమ్స్ టు పర్ఫార్మింగ్ డెల్టా మర్జింగ్, we'll have multiple types of merging.
One question here.
Yeah.
So delta storage is a row storage. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, delta storage is more of a row store concept. Yeah. Not clear?
Yeah, clear.
Not clear. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah. One second. Let me next వేలో మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి explain చేస్తాను. See, this is RAM bus, okay? This is disk, okay? Fine. Let's say now you created a new column store table. Let's say we call that as table 1, okay? So then in main memory, since you create newly, it will be in main memory first, because you're playing the table with the table, so it will be in main memory first, okay? T1, it will create what? Main table, T1, తప్పేం లేదు, టేబుల్ అన్నా పర్లేదు. T1 main table, T1 delta table. And these tables will be in what? In disk also. It will have the same tables in disk also. Okay? Now let's say you have inserted some records. You're inserting some records into this disk. Say 2 records. These 2 records will be written into what? 2 records here and 2 records in delta here also. But see, even though it is an in-memory database, every write operation will go to the disk and read operation will be from main memory. So when it writes here and when the save point is done, it has to write the records back to the disk also. Okay, now it's been night and there's no load on the HANA server. Now I have decided to do what? Merging. Is my table already in the main memory bus? If it is already in the main memory, fine. It will start taking these records from delta and puts it to what? Main. It puts it to main and then writes these 2 records back to what? Main table, and this will be cleaned out. If the table is already in the memory bus. If it is not done, ila undanu. Assume this table was not loaded into main memory bus. Let's say after inserting 2 records, we have unloaded it. Let's say table is not loaded. Now you say perform merge on this table. Then what happens? It will load these 2 tables into main memory and then perform the same operation. It takes 2 records from delta, writes it to what? Main, and then writes the changes to the main here. This is the concept. So after finishing merging, is it writing back changes to the disk? It will not write in case of memory merge. If I do memory merge, it will only do merging at memory level. It will not write those changes till to the disk until the next save point. Ante different. Adokkadaniki raayadu. Ippudu clear ayindana every. Now question is, why am I inserting when user is inserting records? Why am I writing to delta then moving it to main? Why don't I write it to main? When I'm inserting records, why is that I'm writing records to delta then moving it to main bus? Why don't I write records to main?
Similar to row store.
Exactly. This will be row store, which is more optimized for writing. That's why I use delta, and main is more of column store mechanism in the backend, which is more optimized for reading, not writing bus. So if I try to write records directly into main, the time taken to insert will be longer time. So performance will be bad for the inserts. So I'm trying to do all the inserts into delta, which is more row optimized, so it is faster to insert. Then when I do merging at later point of time, when user is not really seeing the system, which he doesn't feel the pain, then I'll move the records from delta to main. Idan max. Okay, Nanda?
But unloading తర్వాత మళ్ళీ డిస్ప్లేకి రావద్దు కదా
ఎట్లా
మనం inserted two records in delta initially in main memory.
You inserted two records in main memory.
Right.
Okay.
And later, like by default, it is writing into T1 delta of disk.
100%. 100% it has to write.
Right. Now we unloaded those two records.
Yes.
Now when we perform like merge operation, it should not write into disk, right?
You're trying to perform merge. If you try to perform merge, what will you say? First read data from table 1, read data from main and top. When you say read, you're trying to fetch data from the table. So automatically when the fetch is done on a table, will that be loaded into main memory? I told you, if the table is not in the main memory, during first, when you're fetching the records from the table will be loaded into main memory. Then the table gets into main memory. Then it takes the data from this delta and writes it to what? Main. And these changes of main has to be reflected to the main of what? Disk bus. If you do only in case of memory merge type, it will only do merging at memory level. It will not write the changes to the disk yet. During the next save point, when actually every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes, then these changes will be written to what? Instead of writing changes to the disk during memory merge process, it'll write those changes to the disk during the next save point. Okay?
So delta merge can be performed only in RAM, not on disk.
When you say in-memory database, two things. It stores data in main memory, processes data in main memory, the point. Data in main memory పెట్టుకోవాలి ఆ డేటా మీద డేటాను ఏదైనా మ్యానిపులేట్ చేయాలంటే మెయిన్ మెమరీలోనే చేయాలి అది కదా ఇన్ మెమరీ డేటాబేస్ అంటే సో మర్జింగ్ is a process where you manage manipulating data, so it has to be done in main memory. That's it. Done? Okay. Yeah. Now any doubt now?
I have a small doubt.
Yeah.
When we go with you have explained the column store table, right? Suppose I created a row table. Okay. When I have started the system, will it get loaded to main memory like the system table, or will it stay in the disk?
It's been question. What was the question?
ఇప్పుడు row store table నేను create column store table కాకుండా row table create చేశాను సార్.
Okay.
ఓకేనా? కానీ మనం రీస్టార్ట్ చేసినప్పుడు సిస్టమ్ రో స్టోర్ టేబుల్స్ అనేది డైరెక్ట్ గా మెయిన్ మెమరీకి వెళ్ళిపోతుందా? సో మనం ఎక్స్ప్లిసిట్లీ చేసిన రో టేబుల్ కూడా మెయిన్ మెమరీ కదా లేకపోతే డిస్క్ లో ఉంటుంది కదా?
Whether it is system table or user defined table, all row store tables will be loaded to main memory.
Okay, thank you.
So that is importance of performing merging bus. Now once you understand what is merging and understand the importance of merging, there are different ways of performing merging on the table. Okay, so there are some types of merging which is handled, so you categorize it this way. There are some types of merging which is handled by the system. There are some types of merging which is handled by the user or through the SQL statement or UI, whatever it is. Okay. Now look at this. This auto merge, you'll have different auto merge, smart merge, memory merge, hard merge, forced merge, critical merge. Okay. Auto merge and critical merge is all. These two are handled by the system, so triggered by system, and is merged agante system. Okay. So merging which is triggered by system is taken care by is all auto merge and critical merge. These two will be taken care by the system. And when it comes to manual or when it triggering through delta merge through SQL or manual activity, then that will be with what? Either it could be smart merge, memory merge, hard merge, or forced merge. smart merge, memory merge, hard merge, and forced merge. This will be the ones what we manually user would trigger the merging. And the user, it could be through SQL statement command or through UI, whatever it is. Okay, now what is this auto merge? What is this auto merge? Who will perform this? Who will trigger this auto merge bus? System will trigger the auto merge. That is first point. So when will it perform? When will it perform the auto merge bus? So the point is, first criteria is when the table is created, auto merge property should be enabled on the table. If I have a column store table for which auto merge property is enabled, you remember the property on auto merge, no auto merge, auto merge. While creating a table, you had an option of enabling or disabling the auto merge, or even the alter statement, you can disable or enable the auto merge. For any column store table where the auto merge is enabled, system will take care about performing auto merge on the table. So who will take care of this? Within the system, you'll have a process called merge dog, which will be scanning through all the column store tables for which auto merge is enabled. And whenever any table satisfies something called auto merge decision function, it will trigger the merging on the table. So for all those column store tables for which delta merge is enabled, auto merge is enabled, system will take care about performing merging on the table. How does it do? Within the system, there is a process called merge dog, which will be scanning through all the column store tables for which auto merge is enabled. Whenever any table satisfies my auto merge decision function, it will trigger merging on it at the auto merge. So I said, this is all done by your basis guide. In the configurations, they do this. See here, you see merge dog, and merge dog will have property called auto merge decision function. This is some formula. This is some logic. DM delta memory storage. If delta memory storage reaches this size, if delta cell count reaches to this size, then there will be some formula which it evaluates that, and any table which satisfies this evaluation on the table, it triggers the merging and the auto merge. Any confusion till here? So for this, do I have to write any SQL statement? Do I do something in the UI? No, it's all handled by systems. Okay, was fine. Next, critical merge. Next is critical merge. So critical merge is triggered by whom? Critical merge is also triggered by the systems. In what scenario is this being triggered? Anni merge layer. Everything is a delta merge, but how it is triggered, who is triggering, based on that they have defined different types of triggers. That's it. Okay. Now when you say critical merge, say this is a situation. Let's say I have a column store table for which auto merge is disabled. Disabled means you have not enabled auto merge at all. So will system take care about merging? If you have a column store table for which the auto merge is disabled, will system take care about merging on the table?
Yes.
No, right?
It should be like critical merge.
No, but logic in the, if I have a table for which auto merge is disabled, will system take care about merging on this table? No. It should be our responsibility of performing merging on the tables. Only for the column store tables where auto merge is enabled, system will perform the merging automatically using auto merge. If I have a column store table where auto merge is disabled, I should take the responsibility of performing merging on the table. This is clear. Now, question is, let's say auto merge is disabled. It was my responsibility of triggering merging. Okay. But I forgot to perform merge on this table. It was lots of data was inserted. It reaches some peak stage where it cannot handle the delta store anymore. In the system, the size of the delta store reaches to some size where it cannot handle the delta table anymore. Then system is forced to do merging on the table. That is called as critical merge. then system will do merging on the table. That is called as critical merge. It was critical that it had to do merging on the table, then it files a merging on the table. That is called as critical merging. ఒక టేబుల్ కి నువ్వు ఆటో మర్జ్ డిసేబుల్ చేసినావు కాబట్టి మర్జింగ్ సిస్టమ్ ఆటోమేటిక్ చేయదు, నువ్వే చేయాలి, నువ్వు చేసి నువ్వు మర్చిపోయినావు. డెల్టా స్టోర్ సైజ్ ఒక స్టేజ్కి రీచ్, డేటా భయంకరంగా ఇన్సర్ట్ చేసినావు, ఒక స్టేజ్కి వెళ్ళిపోయింది, దాని నుంచి ఇంకా డెల్టా స్టోర్ డెల్టా టేబుల్ హ్యాండిల్ చేయలేదు అనుకో, అప్పుడు సిస్టమ్ ఫోర్స్గా ఇంకా అది ఇంకా అదే మర్జింగ్ కొడుతుంది. అది క్రిటికల్ అండి. ఇట్ వాస్ వెరీ క్రిటికల్ ఫర్ ద సిస్టమ్. అది చేయకపోతే సిస్టమ్ ఎత్తిపోతున్న సిచ్యువేషన్ వచ్చినప్పుడు సిస్టమే దాన్ని మర్జింగ్ కొడుతుంది అన్నట్టు. దట్ ఈస్ కాల్డ్ క్రిటికల్ మర్జింగ్ అంతే. సో ఐ హావ్ రిపీటెడ్ ఇన్ Telugu was something which I have repeated in English, so nothing to worry about. Okay, fine. Okay. Then next we have other 4 types of merges which has to be handled manually. Smart merge, memory merge, hard merge, and forced merge. Okay, boss. Here you should understand 2 things. One is token and one is actual operation. Token means what? I say perform merge. I give some token or I tokenize it to start the merging. And the actual process of merging is the operation, delta merge operation. అంటే నువ్వు చేయని చెప్పేది ఒక పని, యాక్చువల్ చేసి మర్జింగ్ జరిగేది ఒక పని అన్నట్టు. 2 activities. Okay. Now, when you say smart merge, this will be done manually through SQL statement. Okay. While write through SQL, I'll say perform merge on this table, merge properties, smart merge on. So that means what are the merging I'm doing is a what? Smart merge. That's why I trigger it through a SQL statement. So when I trigger a smart merge, what it does, when you send the token to the system to do smart merge on a table, okay. So issuing a command is nothing but sending a token to the system to do merging. Let's say I've written a SQL statement, perform merge on this table, and smart merge is on. So I'm issuing a token to the system to do merging. But after token, it receives a token, it actually performs merging only if smart merge decision function is satisfied. There will also have something called what? Smart merge decision function. So through SQL statement, we are going to manually trigger the merging on the table, which is smart merge. We are going to issue a token, but it actually performs merging if it satisfies the smart merge decision function. Only when it reaches to some stage, I would like to have standard mechanism of performing merging only when this is satisfied. Then I can go with what? I can set up the formula calculation smart merge decision function and keep issuing a token with what? Smart merge parameter on. So whenever I trigger a merging with smart merge parameter as on, it will only perform, it will issue a token to the system to do merging. But system will do merging only if smart merge decision function is satisfied. That is smart merge.
Sir, how the default value, make this default value? This will be done by us or how to understand this?
Exactly. This is all done by basis, okay? And if you still want, they can change. They can say change. They can have a new decision function written and then they can change it. If you want to understand this, what is this MMS, what is this main memory, MMS main memory storage, DMS delta memory storage, if you want to understand, I showed you one document on the, remember? On the delta merge, if you go to Google, just say SAP HANA delta merge. You'll get a PDF, yeah? If you go to the bottom of this document, if you go down, there is some, you'll have menu, there's something like cost function. Here they clearly tell you, DMS is what? Delta memory size in MBs, okay? MMS is what? Main resident memory size, main memory size. TDM is table merge delay, main row count, deleted main rows, delta log size, delta cell count, delta row count. they have their own abbreviations which has to be used to formulate that formula. It's all done by basis admin completely. Yeah. But you can know.
Okay.
Yeah.
This formula is depending upon the database size and
Exactly.
the
You write all the formula saying if my delta store size is greater than 100 MB, I want my delta merging to be triggered. Then I can write the formula accordingly. Yeah.
okay, got it. And
Okay, boss. Okay. So that was your smart merge bus. Yeah, we can check. We can see it. A table in the here itself you can see. I'll show you the logs. In the system information, you will have something merge statistics. You can see execute. It will show you all the merge statistics, every merge operation. I'll check. And there is something called memory merge bus. again you say perform merge on this table with parameter memory merge on. See, I can combine like say smart merge on, memory merge on. So I can take both the functionalities also together. Okay. First, let's go. Memory merge is what as we just discussed. It loads the data tables into main memory and performs merging operation only reflected in what? Main memory. Does not write the changes to the disk now. Only during the next save point, it writes the changes back to the disk. So main memory is a bit faster because it does reflections only in main memory only. It need not write to the disk. Okay, was fine. Can I have like this? If I want like this, I want smart merge and memory merge. Yes. Perform merge on this table with parameter smart merge on and memory merge on. I can say then it actually does the logic of smart merge affecting only till what? Memory only. You can also go with that way also. Hard merge bus. Hard merge is like say I would like to do I trigger merge manually, but no condition to be checked. Whenever I trigger, it has to do merging at that point of time. Then that will be hard merge. Okay, boss. When I say hard merge, irrespective of any condition, nothing. When I say perform merge on this table, it has to do merging. That is called as hard merge. But when I say perform merge on this table, it has to check some conditions only, then it has to do, then it is smart merge. When I do merging, it has to reflect change only in main memory, then it is memory merge. When I say perform merge, it has to do merging at that point of time, that will be hard merge. Okay. Then there's something called what? Forced merge. So generally what happens, let's say you issue a token, you say hard merge, it has to do merging. But when you say perform hard merge and when it's trying to do merging, server is busy with some other operations, then what? This operation will be kept on hold. Now what I want is, even though if server is busy, it has to do my operation first before anything else. Then I'll go with what? Forced merge. You're triggering merging manually, but even though the system is busy, it has to do your work first. It has to finish my merging, then carry on the other operation later. Then I'll go with what? Forced merge. Means like it's like issuing a merging command with high priority. That's it.
So no condition for forced merge?
No condition for hard merge and no condition for forced merge. Okay, boss? Now let's
Sir, all merging operations done by only column store tables, not rows tables, right? So if you want to do merge operations,
we never have merging concept at all, only on column store, because only column store only will have delta and main tables. Okay, Nabba? Right. Look at this. I'm just creating a table. Okay. What is the option I'm saying here? What does it mean? So while creating a table, if you want to disable auto merge, you will say what? No auto merge. But in the alter statement, you will say what? Disable, enable, use a keyword different. Now I'm creating a table where when I say no auto merge means what? Auto merge is disabled. System is nowhere responsible for triggering merging. I have to manually take care of triggering this table. Trigger delta merge on this table. Okay. And I just want to insert 2 records on this table out.
Sir, quick question, sir. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So that statement means all column store tables by default it is automation.
Which one?
Right? So create column table with
Yeah.
box.
By default, auto merge is enabled. Yeah. Explicitly, I'm switching off. Yeah.
Okay, so our all the cube tables or column store tables, that means automatic is on those tables too.
Yeah. I'll come to that. Just give me some time. Let me finish this topic.
Sure,
I'll
sir,
give
sure.
it in detail. I'll come to that.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
So then the question is which merging. Once you know about all the merging, then we'll discuss on which merging should I prefer. That we'll go with. Yeah. Then we'll get the topic of cube and all this stuff. Is this table in memory bus? So look at this. It is there in the disk, it is there in what? It is occupying some space in the main memory or not? Yeah? Memory consumption. So it is there in the main memory. So since I just created the table right now, it is there in the main memory bus. Okay, good. And I've inserted 2 records into this table, right? Okay, good. Now I'm saying, look at this. Merge delta of this table. Did I use any of the keyword like smart merge on or memory merge on? Nothing. Straight away I'm saying do merging on this table. Jaragala was merging on. That is called what? Hard merge. This is equivalent to right click on this table and you have option called what is this here? Hard merge a condition a parameter level. Straight away you can right click on the table and say perform delta merge. This is like hard merge or equivalent to this. Merge delta of this table. Okay, boss. Now let me execute this. So when this is executed, I should see now delta is occupying how much space now? At a logical, I cannot really show you delta table area at the Zukilangan. Logically, if you think main is only occupying 2 KB and delta is occupying majority of the case. Now I have done the merging now. Let me refresh. See now what is happening now. Measure of the space is in what? Main, and now it has freed up the delta. Again you insert records again. So again I insert some other records, say 3 and say what? 4. So disk lo kuda change avutam space gamanичнал. Okay, again it has come into the delta, right? Again I'll do what? Again I'll do merging. So it will do merging in the memory and writes back to the disk also. Ikkada martham disk size. It is writing into the main memory and writing it back to what? Disk. Okay, Anna? And now he was asking me when this merging is going on, whether it is auto merge or whatever it is, will we be able to see those statistics or the log? Yeah, that's what. See, from the administration, if you go to how do I get to this administration? I just selected this administration here. Yeah, I get this, and then there's a tab called what? System information. I expand the system. You see what? Merge statistics. Right click and say what? Execute. Now here, if you remember, you triggered merge. You can say I want to see only this schema, and for which table you want to see? Only for delta merging. E table rende jarinayi. Chudandi. Merge, the operation was merge on this schema and on this table. Was it a memory merge bus? Was it memory merge? No. What is the motivation? Tokenized. What is motivation is hard to merge. Which motivation will tell you type of merge and then success or failure. Here you can see whether the merging was successful or not. And that also tells you the time, and this will execute the start time, and this will tell you the duration of that. See, execution time, how many seconds it is taken. And how many records did it merge? You remember I was inserting 2 records in merging. How many records it has merged also can be seen. Okay, boss? And if there's any error, you can also see the error description. If it is a failure, okay, this is a log you can see. Done. So what I'm doing again, just to showcase you, this is about hard merge. You understood this? Yeah? Now I'm trying to drop this table again completely. Okay, and again I'm creating this table. I'm creating this table again. Even now, when I see the content of this table, again we create newly, so again there's no data, right? It is stuck here.
Sir?
Stuck in the system.
Yeah. Okay. Sir, meanwhile,
Yeah.
see if you do any merge operation, data will transfer from delta to main.
Yeah.
As well as main to disk.
See main, no, confused. So when you say main, what does that mean main? Is it main memory or main table?
RAM.
Cause main table is main table. Main memory is RAM. Okay.
Yeah, I mean main memory only.
Main memory కాదు.
Delta and main. No. RAM లోనే మనకి delta and main memory ఉంటుంది కదా.
RAM లోనే delta table, main table ఉంటాయి. Right. ఇప్పుడు question.
That's all. From delta to main, the merge operation will do.
Yeah.
Apart from that, RAM to disk కూడా అవుతుంది అంటున్నా.
అవుతుంది కదప్పా. Assume the table is there in the disk only. Now you say merge. So you have to manipulate the data in the table. So you have to read data from the table and then manipulate. So every time you read data from the table, it has to be loaded into, first the table will be loaded to memory. It does the merging and writes the changes to the main table, and then the changes in this table should be written back to the disk again.
Okay.
Sir, writing back అనేది depends on save point frequency, కదా sir?
No. Writing back depends on type of merge. If you do memory merge, it does not write back. If you do memory merge, it will not write back. If any other merge, it will write back immediately. If it is memory merge, it will not write back. It will write back only during next save point.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir, while adding new records, I can see that disk space is increasing.
Yeah. Very good understanding.
When you merge it, it's reducing again. When you perform the merge operation.
Why is it happening? Every write operation is written to main memory and to the disk. That's why disk size is increasing. And after merging, so disk also will have main and delta. Main memory also will have main and delta. That's why the size is going down, because only after merging the records are compressed and stored into column store. So the size in the disk as well as RAM is also going down. Clear?
Yes.
Yeah. See, now I create the table. Again, I inserted 2 records. Now I would like to do a merging on this table. 2 records. Okay, insert gel. Let me insert those 2 records. Again, I have this. See again. See, it has got delta and main. Okay. Now let me do. So again, I would like to do trigger, since I've switched off and disabled the auto merge. I would like to merging, but when I am doing merging manual, I would like to go with smart merge. So when I do smart merge means what? I issue the command, but it will perform merging on this table only if smart merge decision function is satisfied. Okay. Let me just execute this. And let's see the situation here. What has happened? Satisfy అయిపోయిందా కాకూడదు సాటిస్ఫై అయిందన్నా కాకూడదు సరే it is satisfied the condition, it has done the merging, but in the statistics you can see clearly what was that. So what was the motivation here? Smart. But ఎందుకు రెండు లాగులు ఎందుకు ఉన్నాయంటే ఒకటి హింట్ అని ఉంటుంది. Hint is like tokenization. We have sent an hint to do merging and actual merge is merge. Hard merge కంటే hinting, straight away doing merging. But smart merge will have one is sending a hint to the system to do merging. Whether it merges or not, it's like this is merge. Suppose if it is not satisfying the condition, you will have only one hint as what? It has sent an hint, but it has not done merging. ఇప్పుడు కండిషన్ సాటిస్ఫై అయిపోయింది చూస్తే ఇదేమన్నా ఒకటే రికార్డు పెడతా కాకు బికాస్ ఐ డోంట్ వాంట్ దట్ టు సాటిస్ఫై ద కండిషన్ అంటే కాకూడదు మర్జ్ అని సిస్టమ్ insert one record, then size the again let me say smart merge. Again there is hint and what merge. So I'm not able to stop, but if you can understand that formula, I can have some condition which will never, it's not satisfied. So even if you do it, you'll have only hinting. There's no actual merging. Okay, good. And here you can see the motivation is what? Smart merge. Okay. Again, I'm dropping the table. Okay, you're okay with smart merge. And where do you see the smart merge decision function? In the configuration, you see smart merge decision function. Okay? Again, let me just say drop. Now we'll finish this topic and we'll stop. And drop. And I want to create this table back and insert those two records again. Now I would like to do memory merge. I can also go with memory merge and with what? Combination of smart merge and memory merge together also like this. Say merge the delta on this table with parameter smart merge and what? Memory merge. Okay, it has done the merging. Now if you go to statistics, you see it still says what? Smart merge, but only thing is the reflected changes only in what? Main memory. Okay, boss? And forced is.
But memory merge true
ఏంది ఇక్కడ
because we enabled here memory merge.
1, 2, 3. అవును
Ideally, it should be two.
Let me do one thing. Let me just do only memory merge and let's see that. అంటే ఏదో ఒకటే పెడుతుందేమో చూస్తాను స్మార్టా ఏదో ఒకటే ఇండికేషన్ పెడుతుంది and I'll say what 7. Memory merge is an only reflections in main memory. Let me say memory merge on. Nervous. So it doesn't take. But should say memory merge is like one reflections only in main memory bus. That's it. And that is it. Was now the point is, see hard merge, force merge, that is only depending on priority. We cannot have any command specific. But here it's a forced merge equal to say what? On. That will be a forced merge. It's a merge delta with parameters forced merge on until that will become what? Forced merge. Okay. So now question is what type of merging should we prefer, especially when you go to BW on HANA? See, the problem here is ultimate better option is auto merging. Yes or no? Why? System will we are least bothered about merging, so system will take care about merging. But I have a problem with data, the auto merging. What problem is it? Let's say I have a cube or I have some table where we are trying to insert a lot of records. During the time of inserting a lot of records, let's say you're trying to insert 1 million records. In midway, the system has satisfied the auto merge decision function. So what will it do? It automatically starts firing out auto merge. So due to the firing of auto merge in between process, the loading of the data will be kept on hold. It will take a lot of time. So if you enable auto merge on a table, and if you're trying to load if you're trying to extract through ETL, if you're trying to load a lot of records into the table, in the midway, if it satisfies the auto merge decision function, it will trigger the merging. It does not wait whether someone is inserting or not. So it is doing merging, the table will be locked for some time, and the load process will take longer time. Will it affect my loading performance bus? So just to handle this problem, I will not go with auto merge. So I'll switch off the auto merge. And then I manually want to trigger the merging on my own. But when I want to trigger manually, which one I'll prefer? Smart merge. Whenever I say manual, I doesn't want to trigger even if there's one record in the delta store. There should be some criteria whenever I trigger manually, it has to do merging only when that criteria should be satisfied consistently throughout the system. Then I'll go with what? Smart merge. So for BW cubes or DSOs or right optimized, we'll go with what? Smart merge. Got this? Someone asked me, right? Is it clear now? Just to handle the loading performance. To handle the loading performance in BW, you have to disable auto merge and make sure you use smart merge. Yeah.
So say for example, even data load is going on and the smart merge decision logic satisfies them.
He's saying you're loading huge amount of data in the middle of the time, it has satisfied smart merge decision function. But even though the smart merge decision function is satisfied, will system trigger the merging? No, right? Only when I issue the command, it does checks and then do the merging. When will I issue the command? After my DTV is successful or after my loading?
Okay. Yeah, after data load is done.
Exactly.